We are working today. Great. Live stream's working today. Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. It is April the 4th, and it's the Standards Working Group of the OpenJS Foundation Fun Club is what I will call us today. And we got a good full house and a nice agenda. So, welcome and thanks for tuning in. We start with announcements. Does anyone have any announcements or news? I have one fun thing from a kind of cousin community of ours. The GraphQL Foundation has announced its event is happening in September in the Bay Area this fall, September 19th through 21st, San Francisco Bay Area. GraphQL obviously has partnered with us. They were part of our OpenJS World event with their summit in the summer of 2022, way back when. And we've got some folks in the JS community who are also active over there. So anyway, just kind of sharing the love a little bit on that in case you are listening and you're interested in GraphQL. That's one announcement. We have other announcements too related to the OpenJS standards group, but they're also part of our agenda today, so I won't jump the gun on that. Any other announcements? Donovan.
Yeah, TC53 has version 2 of ECMA 419, pretty much imminent. I wouldn't be surprised if it's released in the next couple months. Big differences are they've added a lot of asynchronous classes, which will be exciting for a lot of developers, me especially. And I've also added a lot of example peripheral classes to help guide manufacturers of hardware components. So that's might be out in a month.
That's exciting. Congrats to TC53. That's pretty big news. Making good progress as always. Congrats, Jordan.
Yeah, TC39 met 2 weeks ago, and we've just cut the candidate specification for ES 2023. It's unlikely to change in any meaningful way, but it's a candidate until the ECMA General Assembly approves it in June.
That's wild that we're on 2023. So the TC met between now and the last time that we met. Were there any it's a good seg, I suppose, to updates from the TC, if there were any big pieces of exciting news to share from the meeting?
Yeah, there's a number of things. Let me pull it up. So the iterator.range proposal and the float 16 array proposal both went to stage 2, as did async context. There's a stage 1 proposal for await dictionary. The idea that you can, like promise.all takes an array and you have to just destructure an array at the end. This is where you pass in an object and destructure an object at the end. Import assertions is now import attributes and is conditionally stage 3 again. So instead of the assert keyword, it would use the with keyword, and it has slightly different requirements on it so that it meets what the web needs to be able to import JSON and CSS and whatnot. There's a few other stage 1 proposals, promise.with resolvers, so like the ability to basically get a deferred. Time zone canonicalization, that's some stuff related to very frequent politically based time zone changes and what happens with temporal and date and how that works. And then class method parameter decorators is also stage 1. Yeah.
Has Samantha done their usual excellent summary?
I think so. It's probably on their Twitter, but they've had some issues with one of their domains, so I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up, and I'll drop the link in the Zoom chat.
That would be great. I'd love to just link that in here, and then also we can use that as we can retweet that and stuff like that. I think those summaries are super good. And okay, cool. Any other updates from any like Winter CG? I don't know if anybody's been heading over to those meetings recently, or any W3C news. I feel like W3C has been a little bit quiet lately, quieter, relatively speaking.
I discussed some W3C issues in GitHub yesterday. There's a charter proposal that closes today that nobody's opposed to, that on basically machine learning APIs in the browser, that is considering how trendy AI is these days, might have been something we wanted to touch on, but there's no controversy there, so I don't think we need to. Somewhat more interestingly, there is a survey for all the members to try to give guidance to the board committee that's searching for a CEO. I don't know, you might want to take a look at that and see if you, Jory, our AC rep, might want to take a look at that and see if there's anything we could usefully say. I think we're in an interesting position because we're at the nexus of open standards and open source, and W3C sort of still lives in the open standards are where the work happens, and then people go off in their corners and implement, and then just come back and test. And that's not the way the world works anymore, especially with respect to JavaScript frameworks. Whether we have any guidance, or there's something to be said for trying to get a W3 CEO who had a sophisticated understanding of how the web development ecosystem really works. Could be something that the foundation is interested in. How we can use that member survey to make a coherent statement about that, I have no idea, but there are open-ended comment fields. We could put something in there about how important it is for the CEO to really understand that there's standards, there's still proprietary implementations, but there's an awful lot of open source projects out there. And, this is a different ecosystem than it was when W3C was founded. And, the CEO should have a sophisticated understanding.
So I had missed that survey. So thanks for raising that. And it does seem like something that I can pop the questions into, like our standard Slack, and we can kind of maybe think about guidance that we might share. Did they happen to say in that, like, too, like what their timeline might be for?
I think the survey closes something like Friday, so it's something we're trying to do this week. It was open about a week ago, and I hadn't really thought about it until this meeting kind of gets people. This meeting on the calendar kind of gets people active in Slack and GitHub. Anyway, I think having you taking a look, see if there's anything you would propose saying, or throwing it out to the community to see if we can draft something. It'd be my suggestion.
Sounds like a great idea. And let me just pop that actually into my to-do tool so that I can make it so before a deadline real quick, if you guys don't mind. That is good to do. All right. Right on. Any other updates from any of our groups today? I don't think so. I think we're good. I guess we can move on to our agenda then. Let's see, item numero uno on our list today is an issue 215 cleanup working group members list. This is quasi related to just like general, hygiene and updating that we've talked about in 173. I have a PR, it's PR number 216, and that just updates the README where we've got that list of folks who've raised their hand. I think we started maintaining this list back at a Node Collab Summit or something like in 2017 or 18, or it was a long time ago. So some of these folks haven't been around for a while. What we don't want to say is like, hey, we're not saying hey, you're not part of the group anymore. We're just saying you're maybe not as active. So we're moving you to inactive. And then of course, if they want to get back involved and they start showing back up, we'll just pop them back up to the active side of that list. So we're keeping that historic participation. We also noted an oversight that somehow Mike Champion's name wasn't on the list at all, and he is certainly very active. So that is that's added. If you have a minute, I've got a few plus ones on that, but any objections to merging that in and closing that issue out? None. Okay, cool. I'm going to hit merge, pull request, and get that done. Thanks very much. Make that little note. Okay, so the next item on our list is the Secure the Web Forward workshop and the call for papers there. We've been talking about this for like several weeks now, I think. Between, I think at the last meeting, we announced the workshop was announced officially. And so we've got those links in the notes for you all there to help us promote that the workshop is happening. But I think now the question to this group is whom we should be encouraging from our community. If there's a specific set of projects that we think we should go make sure that TSC knows that this is happening and that they have an opportunity to like reflect and maybe propose a topic. This is going to be a real working kind of event. So it's not a general conference, but rather W3C workshop. So I think I want us to spend, if you all don't mind, a few minutes just reflecting whom from our communities, our OpenJS community, should we be reaching out and making sure they're aware. I think jQuery is obvious. They've got the security survey that they're fielding, and so that should definitely be proposed. But yeah, anybody else, we need to make sure that folks are aware of this.
I assume folks from the Node team are attending already.
So I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know for sure. So the way the workshops work for W3C is, there's like an application to propose a topic and then come and like do sort of a session on that. Because of the limited space, they are also asking folks to, apply to attend so that, it's the right level of this is not going to be a good spot for a beginner to go, is what I'm trying to say. Like a first-time web developer is really not going to get a lot out of this. So yeah, Toby.
Yeah, it's funny because Dan Applequist is running this, and like the first ever workshop I went to ever, it was Dan who was also running it, and it was on service workers, and it was like 15 years ago. So it's just like, it feels like I don't know, it's funny. But I do want to point out that, yeah, someone that is new to web development, that's going to be a little challenging. But this can be a very good occasion to come and bring a use case or some real sort of like developer focused experience and be new to standards. It's actually a really great way to get into it. And it's often the case in those workshops that there's a whole bunch of people from the standard space that don't necessarily have like hands-on experience of what's happening actually in the field. And it's really great to have sort of like, it's great if the jQuery folks come, for example, and that it's not only sort of like standard people that are there. So I want to sort of offer, I mean, yeah, really suggest. I'm planning to go, and I don't know what I'm going to submit. And also, the other thing that I want to say is it can be really short. Like the paper I wrote for the first time I went was like a page, and it was, you know, just like here are the three issues that we have was like the standard. And so I think well, also I'm planning to go, and I'm also happy to sort of like help a coach or whatever it takes to get folks that need a little push when it will help, or any kind of like suggestion to and they can just reach out. I'm happy to yeah, do that.
That's awesome. That's very kind of you. So certainly if there's folks that we talk to, I'm going to say, hey, you know, Toby would be happy to review your paper or whatever. That's awesome. I was hoping that you would say that you wanted to that you were going, so that's good. Toby.
I mean, it's close enough, right? And London's nice, and it's you know, and it's a fun. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Like it's a great intersection of people, intersection of communities. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. I want to make sure that I don't write about stuff that I wanted jQuery folks to write about. So yeah, there's that.
Donovan had suggested the Node security or Node. Obviously, we have the security work that's been happening with the thanks in part to support from the Alpha Omega grant. I feel like, you know, it'd be great to ask them to present something about some of the work that they've been doing under that grant and some of the problems that they've been having. So that's a great point. We should make sure that they've seen this and that they prepare something. Yeah, Toby, sorry.
Yeah, no. On the Node front, there's a bunch of web APIs that have been included in like the more recent versions of Node, like Fetch and all of that stuff. And that also could be really interesting to sort of like have feedback on this, and maybe their learnings and security concerns that are different on the, you know, on the Node side than they are on the front end. So that's also something that might be interesting to dig into.
Jory, we may want to reach out individually. I'm hearing a lot of people are struggling with travel requests and funding at their big companies or small companies. So finding folks who are local who could represent, or European based. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I think also just given some of the other things, like just a nice warm, like reach out individually is probably the
giving folks more context on what it's not a traditional conference that folks may be thinking about.
Any of the other projects, I mean, obviously Node and jQuery are the ones that we've been engaging with from the grants perspective, but I'm just wondering.
Appium, I think Appium had a proposal in, right? Jonathan Lips.
Oh, they do? I missed
well,
that.
No, not into the conference, but had floated some standardization ideas past this group last year. You might want to.
Yes. Was that, but I don't think this was security. That wasn't a security related.
Right.
That was standardization of their test.
Right.
Yeah. Toby.
The Webpack stuff.
Well, yeah. So that's what I was like. What about Webpack? Is there something, you know, Webpacky? Maybe Tobias is in Germany, so that, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So.
And Jordan, all of what you was talking about earlier about what was happening in TC39 in terms of imports and all of that stuff could also be relevant topics to that conversation. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm always happy to provide context if it's helpful.
Or maybe there's just more of like but it may be too, I guess this would be something for the programming committee for that event to discuss, is like just like security review in general of new language features. I don't think that that's the actual angle of this particular workshop, but there's still, that does have applicability to the web developer community. So. All right, these are good ideas. we'll start there, I guess, and then and we can kind of help just again keep getting the word out. I don't recall off the top of my head how long we have the by we I mean the programming group for the workshop has the call open, but if you know, tell your friends, tell your friends in London in particular, that this is that this is coming. And if you I guess another thing is, if there's a problem that you think needs to be solved, whether or not you're the person to propose the solution, let us know what that might be. And then we can maybe try and find people who would be in a position to address that, because, you know, that's another part of it. So cool.
It's April 24th.
Thank you.
CFP.
It's yeah, CFP.
Great. I'm gonna CFP closes in 20 days.
And again, like I really want to insist like how like use cases and like feedback from like people is usually a lot more valuable than like elaborate thoughts about how standards should be designed. Right. So like concrete problems that need solving is great food. It's, you know, great thing to bring to the conversation.
Love that. All right. Moving to our next agenda item, standards group participation at OpenJS World. So, reminder, OpenJS World is coming up in almost a month. It's just shy of a month, May 9th, 10th, 11th. Well, just come to Vancouver for that whole week. Just come hang out that whole week. We have the summit on the 9th, and then the conference track on 10th, 11th, 12th. So it's going to be a great time. We have 2 items that are related to this issue 205. The JS Landia awardee process. There's a standards Pathfinder award. I've been asking you all to think about whom you might want to nominate for a while now. Well, that nomination form is open, and let me pop it in the Slack for us too here. We've shared this, I think, on Twitter and LinkedIn and Mastodon and stuff like that too. So you can add, go find it there, but also in the chat. In particular, we're looking for nominees for the Standards Pathfinder Award, folks who've made a big difference or impact for our communities in the standardization space, specification development space. We have until April 18th, that's the due date, to determine who we as a committee would recommend to receive this award this year. And that just gives the team time to order the award and have that there for the event. So, you know, if you'll abide me this request, I'm going to pause us for 2 minutes while you click on that form and nominate somebody. And I'm going to do the same. Yes, Donovan.
Can I repeat my nomination from last year?
I don't recall who you nominated, but I'm sure you can nominate the same person if they didn't win.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to nominate someone.
Who did we give it to last year?
We gave it to Svea from Seligman.
Ziegman, yes.
Ziegman, yes. Yeah. And she was very grateful, and as we've done some social promo of just like the event and this award from the last year's nominees are saying, oh, that was so nice. And they're still happy, they're still grateful. So it's not for everybody, but I think it's just a lovely thing to do. So I'm gonna make my nominee right now.
Can we do multiple?
Yeah, you can do multiple. There's no.
Do nominees know that they get nominated? Or is only like a short, like a number of them?
What,
How does it
so,
work?
go ahead, Robin. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
they do
finish
get,
my.
they are notified that they have been nominated. Yeah.
But I mean, is it a public recognition of being nominated, or is it a public recognition of only of like winning the category?
The latter.
The latter. Okay. No, because then you like it's not like you want to pick one in that case, right? If it's the latter.
Yep.
Who gets to vote on them? Like this group does?
So the
On the
voters last
standards?
year, I need to reach out. We have a small committee. It's Jordan, Rich, Trot, and myself. So,
Oh,
and
great.
Jordan, I was going to reach out, yeah, to do it again this year.
Yeah, happy to.
The standards working group last year, though,
That's right.
reviewed
They-
and made our recommendation to
That's right.
the committee that this is the person that we as a
Mhm.
working group think that the foundation should acknowledge. So. But then once we do get a nomination and we're going to make a recommendation, we make sure that that person is comfortable with, so we're not surprising anybody. So. There, I've got mine in. Just real quick. All right. Has everybody had a second to just put someone in? All right, cool. Appreciate that. Okay, so that's that one. So in our next meeting, we will do private session to discuss the nominees for this award and hopefully be able to come up with a conclusion or two to recommend back to the selection committee of Robin, Rich, and Jordan. So then we'll meet our deadline for them. Okay, so that's about that piece, and I'll pop that form too on the GitHub issue so more people can find it. The other item was a session for the standards working group at Collab Summit, where in the past we've often, if we've had enough of us there, we've had a meeting or something like that. We kind of determined last time that we probably weren't going to have enough folks in person and all of that to warrant having a meeting. But given some of the conversations we've been having with Guy and Leah and others about just like how we help the projects use us more efficiently and make ourselves more present, we determined that a session at the Collab Summit might be really fruitful. So I have filed an issue. It's just to hold the spot, issue 356 on the Summit repo. I just popped that issue into our Zoom chat here for us, but this is a proposal that I have kind of roughly titled How to Leverage the Foundation and Cross Projects Participation for Standards, with the goal of just sort of addressing maybe some patterns that the projects can use to come to us to get feedback, get support, and so on, and just how we can kind of be more helpful to Node or Appium or whomever as they're chewing on how do we provide feedback to these committees or so on and so forth. Calling it kind of a workshop, mostly because I think we want to do like a quick presentation in terms of here's who we are, here's what we do, here's some kind of guiding parameters, if you will, and some patterns, and then whoever shows up, if they've got something in particular that they're trying to accomplish, that we're able to maybe spend some time on whatever that might be. So that would be the kind of format, and then obviously anyone who is here from the standards working group, I would expect to come and kind of participate in that discussion. But anyway, that is that's the issue, to hold the space for us at the summit. If you're going to be there, please go edit that issue if you can, or tell me to edit the issue so I can add you to it as a facilitator or session attendee. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of refine this a little bit over the next couple weeks, and hopefully have a good conversation with our colleagues in Vancouver. So this is, oh, I just bit my tongue. That's that. Any feedback on this right now, or thoughts on what could be making that more helpful?
You just might want to check with James to see if he's going to be presenting a winter CG as well, and you want to roll it into the same hour, perhaps, so you have that overlap.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, good idea. Let me make a note of that idea. Check with James. Okay, cool. Good idea. All right. Any other comment on that issue? 205, OpenJS participation. Nope. Okay, cool. And then that brings us to an oldie but a goodie, issue 173. I think last time I'd said, oh, I'll definitely have some update. And I am sorry to report that I'm a liar. I don't have an update for you all on 173 today. But that doesn't mean it's not very important. It just means that there's other pressing things happening. So I have no update for us on 173, but just to recap on this, we were going to tease out a couple of different threads related to basically guidance or / documentation, depending on whether the person is, so guidance for the participant, and then also some clarification for the say the chair groups or the organizers of these meetings to understand what our folks are bringing to the table. So there was like kind of two different frames for this that we wanted to clarify. So yeah, so I'm just going to write no update there. And then that takes us to the end of our agenda for today, unless there's any other any AOB, because we love acronyms. Any other business? All right, cool. Great. Oh, and I guess the other thing that happened.
Toby has his hand up.
Oh,
for
Toby, go
AOB.
ahead. AOB.
I am sorry. I was planning to go to the AC meeting in Nice, because Nice is nice. Sorry for the terrible pun there. Also, I really apologize. And for reasons, I have decided not to renew my company's membership to W3C. And so I was potentially offering to go and represent, on behalf of OpenJS, if no one else has planned to go, and if it is, compatible with you all for me to go. And so it's, you don't have to make a decision now, but essentially that's the proposal, ask, request, whatever the term for this is. And in particular, because they're talking about having, I opened an issue a while back to have a chair for the advisory committee, because I think that this group is like a combination of like inefficient and borderline toxic. While it's actually a very important group. So there's a whole thread on this topic, and part of the reason I would go would be to run a bird of feather session on discussing what that would actually look like. And so, if that's something that is also, that feels relevant, which I think it should, then that's the background.
That is so as you know, the foundation's event is at the same time as the AC meeting, and so like I will be at Vancouver instead of in Nice. So I think let's take that offline and
Sure.
consider, yeah, but that's it. Thanks for kind of suggesting and raising your hand for that, because that could be very helpful.
It's slightly interested also. So, I mean, just
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest about it. So.
Hamid.
I just wanted to say hi. It's been a long time. Sorry, I couldn't make it to the meetings regularly. One, I stepped up as a manager, like too many things to sort out for the new team. Second, we invited twin boys to our family. That's keeping us busy too. So I was on sabbatical for 2 months.
I'm just so happy to see you, and I wanted to say welcome back. And I know that I know why you were very busy. So like, no judgment here, but we're thrilled to have you back. And also I think you were not on when we were complimenting the wonderful reports that you always provide following the TC meeting. So just glad to have you back.
Thank you.
All right. I'm even gonna write that on the notes. Welcome back. Anything else? Any other AOB? AOB. All right. In that case, I think we can call today's session adjourned. Let me double check when our next meeting is. Next meeting will be April 18th. Be there so that you can help us figure out who we what collection of people we might want to recommend for the JS Landy Awards. And so that'll be one that we don't do live on a live stream, but we still would love to have everybody dial in. So cool. Well, as always, it brightens my day to see you all and makes Tuesdays just the best. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, poke us in Slack if you think of anything, and I'll follow up online and on GitHub with our next